All right. Right now, the Bank Black Friday sale is going on where you can get 50% off your first month of Bank Trade Alerts, which sends you buy and sell alerts for the TQQQs and the SQQQs directly via email and text message. And we are absolutely crushing this market. All you need to do is apply the coupon code Black Friday, all one word, no spaces at checkout, and you could get 50% off your first month of Bank. So if you want to come crush this market with us, we would love to have you. All right. Friday in SPY, we were up 0.12%, and we're still closing below this resistance at 451, and that's the resistance the bulls need to break if they want to continue pushing higher towards that gap fill at 455. Now, if the bulls cannot push through that resistance, I think there's a very good chance next week we're going all the way back down to retest this breakout, which could take us all the way back down towards 436. If that demand zone and retest of that breakout, which is the breakout of the October highs, is successful and we get a higher low, then we'll likely start pushing higher towards 455 to 460. So as I've said many times, vertical rallies are not healthy. It's much healthier if we get a higher low to continue a rally from. And keep in mind, with how vertical this rally has been, our higher low could come all the way down to 430 or all the way even into the 420s and still be a very healthy pullback. So I'm personally in the camp that even if we go higher, there's not a lot more meat left on this bone before we need to see significant more downside to finish out this pullback. So even if we go straight to 455, I still think we're coming back down to the 430s or 420s before this is over. So I don't think we'll go straight to 460. I think we need this higher low pullback at some point, with the most likelihood being the retest of the breakout at 436. But depending on how many buyers are at that retest, there's always the possibility of undershooting it. So next week is a holiday week, and there's probably going to be very low volume because of it. And usually when you get low volume weeks, it's very easy to move price around. So that could work in either direction. We could easily push through the resistance, or we could easily reject from it and see very impulsive selling. Low volume holiday weeks can do either or, so really don't have any idea which direction. I just know because of the vertical nature of this rally, we are at elevated risk of this pullback, which means you need to be very cautious if you're buying up here at these levels. If you're just now starting to buy into this market, in my opinion, you're just FOMOing into the rally because there's no real reason to start buying up here in the 450s if you weren't willing to buy down here in the 410s and 420s. A lot of people thought the market was going to crash down here at the lows, and now they're chomping at the bit and FOMOing into the rally up here at the highs, and that's how you lose money. And that, in my opinion, is not how you be a disciplined and profitable trader. Be very disciplined up here at resistance. We're at elevated risk of a pullback, and during that pullback, you're going to get much better risk reward ratios for long trades. On the NASDAQ 100 triple Qs, we were up 0.02% on Friday, so we went absolutely nowhere for 4 days in a row. And again, we're sitting right up here near critical resistance in the high 380s, which was the previous high back there in July. Now, the actual intraday high was up there right around 388, so if we break through 388, then we likely go to the next price target higher at 393. That will be a blue skies area if we break that resistance, because above that, we have the previous all-time high right around 404. Now, in my opinion, we've gone straight up, straight to a very critical resistance area with no significant pullback. So just like SPY, I'm going to tell you right now, I think we're at elevated risk of a pullback before we continue higher. Yes, I do think there's a good chance we go towards 400, but I would much rather see it come from a higher low that takes us back down towards 370 to retest the breakout. And then after we retest that breakout, if we find buyers and continue the bull trend, then we'll have a much more healthy bull trend towards 400. This is not a sustainable vertical rally, which doesn't guarantee it won't go higher. It's still possible we do continue higher without a pullback, but I simply don't think the risk reward ratio is there, and I don't think that's a move you should be chasing. And if you are chasing it, manage your risk very closely right here at this support level. Critical support in the triple Qs will be 383 in this gap fill at 378, and if all of that support fails, look for that retest of 370. On the Dow Jones, we were down 0.17% on Friday, and the Dow Jones is also butting its head up against resistance right here at 350, and I told you from 350 I thought we would start to pull back towards the gap fill at 344 and the gap fill at 338. We also have a support zone at the retest between 340 and 341, so watch that level as well. And if we blast right through resistance like it's not even there, then obviously I'm wrong about the pullback, and the next critical resistance will be 353 and 356. On the Russell 2000 IWM ETF, we were up 1.37% on Friday, and the Russell did get a rejection from that negatively sloping 200 daily moving average, so this is obviously still a bear trend while we're trading below 180. Now, I do have the arrow drawn lower towards the gap fills below, but do not think that's the only possibility, because now that we did get this pullback and this retest into this 174 zone, if we break this high at 179 to 180, then we'll likely start pushing all the way up towards 190. Now, in my opinion, I would expect the downside scenario because of the bear trend until we start breaking above 180. and then you can start getting more bullish for that trip to 190. So above 180, we very likely will start pushing towards 190, but below 180, this is likely a lower high before we continue back down towards the 160s. The critical support for this retest is right there at the breakout at 174. On the ARKK ETF, we were up 3.53% on Friday, and we did clear that resistance at 43, which means the next critical resistance is 44.6. Now keep in mind, this is a higher low, higher high, just like we have on IWM, so you can stay bullish in ARKK as long as it's above 41, but if at any point it breaks down below this retest at 41, we do have gaps to fill at 40, 38, and down here right around 35. So do not stay bullish in the event we cannot hold that support if we get a retest of this breakout. If we break through the resistance, the next upside resistance will be just below 46, and then above that we have a gap to fill above 48. On the VIX, we were down 3.63% on Friday, which is no surprise because we usually do see the VIX crushing on Friday, but I think the VIX is very close to starting to spike as we get that higher low pullback, and that could take the VIX up near 18, but as long as the VIX doesn't spike out above 18 or 20, it's likely just a pullback within a bull market. During that pullback, we'll likely see a little spike in volatility, which we'll see in the VIX. And then after that, if we're getting the higher low, expect the VIX to crush back down towards 12. On Bitcoin, we're currently trading just below the resistance at 37,000, and it's to be determined whether or not this is going to be a double top rejection, which is going to require a break of that support at 35,000. And if we break that support, look for a retest of the breakout at 32,000. If we break the resistance and we invalidate the double top by breaking through that high, then we'll go towards the next price target higher at 40,000. On Tesla stock, we were up 0.3% on Friday, and intraday we came all the way back down towards this gap close right around 225, but we did not fully close the gap, so keep that in mind going into next week. As long as the bulls can hold this breakout at 222 and the gap fill at 225 and make a higher low and start breaking out, it is very likely we're going to see Tesla trading as high as 255 to 260. So watch that critical resistance at the previous high right around 244 and that critical support right there at 222. If we can't hold the support, it's bearish, and this was a lower high as we go back down towards 197. On Apple stock, we were flat on Friday. We went absolutely nowhere. And on Thursday, we did fill the gap. And I think from that gap fill, it's very likely that we're coming back down towards 185 to 186. And even possible we come all the way down towards 180 to 182 to retest this breakout. As I've said before, we need higher lows before we continue any bull trends, so don't get overly bullish up here at these critical resistance zones. If we just continue higher above 190, the next resistance is 194 and then 197. So jumping back over to the S&P 500, I am very confident that we're going to be getting a pullback very soon, but with next week being a holiday low volume week, anything is possible. So I would just be very careful if you're getting overly bullish or you're starting to get FOMO. This is where people get hurt, and this is where people jump into the market at the worst possible time. I just went through all of the indices and even some of the big stocks, and you can see we're at very critical resistance levels with no significant higher low structure that supports a bull trend. So do not be surprised if when we start to sell off, we start to sell off very rapidly and give back a lot of this recent vertical rally. During that time, it's going to depend on whether or not we put in a higher low or not, and that's going to tell us whether or not we finish out the year in a bull market or if we're starting to break down and rolling over. Regardless, know these critical levels and manage your risk around them. Whether you're shorting or going long, it's irrelevant. It's more important that you have a very strict plan around managing risk at these critical levels. We are absolutely crushing this market on bank trade alerts, so don't forget to take advantage of that Black Friday sale where you can currently get 50% off your first month. I also have the Stock Channel Discord server where you can get access to all of my intraday updates and analysis. You can find out how to join either service and how to claim the Black Friday deal by clicking on the links below. So thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you're crushing this market. And as always, I will see you in the next episode.